What's going on, you guys? It's your girl, Dana Patrice, aka the Black Fairy. Welcome to my channel, Black Fairy Tingz, where we pretty much step up and become our best selves, okay, as women, as a collective. Today, I'm doing this impromptu live, so I really don't even know if anybody's going to show up. But I said, F it, why not? I'm going to be going over a video that I saw come across my YouTube For You page. It was Candace Owens against 20 feminists. Yeah, you know what? Let's play the intro and we'll get right into it.
Yes. I fall in love with myself, and I want someone to share it with me. I want someone to share me with me.
Okay, so as I was saying, I wanted to discuss Candace Owens against these feminists. Let me see here. I thought it was interesting. I just came across it yesterday, and then I was going to do a video, but I was like, let me just go live. I see that there's one person in the building with me. Hello. Thank you for being here. Say hello in the chat if you haven't already. Or just listen. I'm cool with that too. Also, please like the video on your way in. It is a free way to support the channel. But we're going to get into, let's see. Let me share my screen. So Candace Owens goes up against 20 feminist women. I'm going to actually put this to just a little quicker speed because it is quite long. I didn't realize it was that long until now. But let's do the playback speed. We'll do 125 just to make it a little bit better. Let me just make sure it's not showing up. Why aren't you? Oh, hold on. Add stage. Actually, you know what? Since I'm not on screen, what I'll do is we could stay like this. So Candace Owens is, a well-known Christian conservative woman. Her values, what I'll say I appreciate about her is that she's honest about where she stands in regards to women's rights and what women have. I do think she's kind of ignorant and arrogant in the fact that she allows herself to monopolize off what feminism has ultimately given her and allowed her to do and become. She made some statements that I didn't quite agree with, of course. But again, who Candace Owens reminds me of? If you watch The Handmaid's Tale, she's kind of like Serena. You know what I mean? She's like, if you watch it, then you know what I mean. If you're watching now, give me a 1 in the chat. But that's who kind of she reminds me of, the character Serena. Her self-righteousness, her indoctrination, her deep indoctrination into Christianity that is very apparent. So it's very interesting. We're going to get right into it. I'm going to, let's see. How do I do this? Oh, one moment.
Women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this and spend all your time doing that, we would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay. Hi, my name is Candace Owens. I am a podcaster, a mother, a wife, and also the author of the upcoming book, Make Him a Sandwich. And today I am surrounded by 20 feminists. My first claim is that the sexual revolution has devalued women and made them infinitely less happy. Hello. Hi.
Hi, I'm Samaya.
Samaya, nice to meet you. I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you too. So my question for you is, statistics show that 60% of women who are murdered by their intimate partners, murdered by someone that they are in close relations with. That's according to the UN from 2023.
Yeah.
So how is it that, women are so valued, quote unquote, in the home, and yet that's the place where they're at the most danger?
Okay, so I'm not sure what that has to do with the sexual revolution.
Right, the sexual revolution.
The first claim.
The sexual revolution gave.
I'm happy to answer it. I'm just saying that, if you brought in that statistic, you are more likely in general just to be murdered by somebody you know. So of course.
But men are much less likely to be murdered by, their
That's not
partners.
true.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure, because men are less likely to be murdered by women. Full stop. Yeah, exactly. So that statistic makes sense to me. I'm still not sure how this correlates to whether or not
the sexual revolution increased women's ability to leave the house, women's ability to control their own reproductive capabilities, women's ability to, control their own capacity within the workforce in regards to their own sexual capacity. So it is the very fact that the sexual revolution happened that made our access to the workplace much more, or just the public sphere in general, much more easy. So without the sexual revolution, women would be much more confined to the place where they're at the most danger. Isn't that true?
So you think that, just so I'm trying to understand your argument here, you think that if we didn't have a sexual revolution.
She's very nervous, right? The way that she's going about, I get it. I can understand how this is intimidating. You're running for the chair, which I don't like. I don't really like that idea. I don't know. I guess so. You want to talk to her on that topic. Whoever gets to the chair first gets to debate. But you can tell that she's very nervous. I understand a little bit of Candace's confusion of bringing that up. It was the way that she kind of brought it up. I think that she went into this knowing exactly what she wanted Candace to talk about. And although she kind of infused the topic, she's not really on topic. But let's continue.
And less women or more women would be murdered? Are you saying that women are
more women would be murdered for sure?
Okay, I disagree with that. I still don't think it has anything to do with the claim that women are infinitely less happy because of the sexual revolution, which has devalued women.
I think you'd probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't, okay. There is definitely a correlation between personal relationships and domestic violence. And just to be clear, if we're talking about just monogamous relationships, the most violent relationships that are on the books are between lesbian partners. Yes, when people are intimate,
that's not a
that is actually true.
No, the statistic you're talking about is people who have faced domestic violence. Lesbians, yes, are more likely to have faced domestic violence, but that's because they typically came from relationships with men in which they were mistreated.
Lesbian relationships are the most violent relationships that we have on the books.
But we can move on.
They can fact check that claim. The point being is that it's not exactly a stunning statistic to say that when people are in relationships.
Sorry, I just want to go back to the actual statistic because I've heard that statement made before. And if I'm not mistaken, it is a misquote. And the girl in the yellow is actually right. Damn, I want just to get to the statistic. And it's hard to pinpoint because it only flashed on the screen for a quick second. But it could have been that far back. I think it was here, but I do think she misquoted it, just as the lady in yellow was saying. I'm not sure what her name was. I didn't catch it, but it definitely was.
It helps us correlate to happiness, and I don't think it does. I actually think you're having a different debate right now. But yes, absolutely, it makes perfect sense that you are more likely in general when you are in a relationship because people are driven by anger by people that they know, whether or not we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend and I disagree with that. I still don't think it has anything to do with the claim that women are infinitely less happy because of the sexual revolution, which has devalued women.
I think you'd probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't, okay. there is definitely a correlation between personal relationships and domestic violence. And just to be clear,
Right.
if we're talking about just like monogamous relationships, the most violent relationships that are on the books are between lesbian partners. Yes, when people, I disagree with that.
Ugh,
I
I'm
still
not
don't think it has
I'm
anything to
sorry.
do with the claim that women are infinitely
sorry,
less
y'all.
happy because of the sexual revolution, which has
I think
devalued
you'd
women.
probably be less happy if you're being murdered.
Oh.
Anyone disagree?
Okay, yeah, I don't, okay. Okay. There is definitely a correlation between personal relationships and domestic violence. And just to be clear,
Right.
if we're talking about just like monogamous relationships, the most violent relationships that are on the books are between lesbian partners. Yes, when people.
A survey from 2013 shows 61% of bisexual women and 44% of lesbian women reported intimate partner violence, compared to 35% of straight women, according to the Stand Families Free of Violence. But I believe that the quote was that they have been in intimate relationships with men that were violent, not the women in the relationship. I don't know. But it was a survey. I would want to double check that survey. But from what I remember, it was shown to me. That's why it's like it was a video, and they pulled it up and they explained it, and they were actually in data analytics, and they had explained it that the women were more likely to have been in abusive relationships, but not necessarily with their partners, and that the times that they have, considering that they're including bisexual women, it was more likely with the men in their lives. Not to say that there's no violence in lesbian relationships, but I feel like that's a misquote and a misunderstanding of the data that was collected, at least how it was explained to me. And I don't know, I'd have to find that video, but let's continue.
People are intimate.
That's not a
that is actually true.
No, the statistic you're talking about is people who have faced domestic violence. Lesbians, yes, are more likely to have faced domestic violence, but that's because they typically came from relationships with men.
No, lesbian relationships are the most violent relationships that we have on the books.
But we can move on.
They can fact check that claim. The point being is that it's not exactly a stunning statistic to say that when people are in relationships, period, whether those relationships are homosexual, whether they're
But you're saying that the sexual revolution.
Let me finish. I've let you try to explain how this is correlated to happiness, and I don't think it does. I actually think you're having a different debate right now. But yes, absolutely, it makes perfect sense that you are more likely in general when you are in a relationship, because people are driven by anger by people that they know, whether or not we're talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and a wife, a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife. Yes, of course, the instances of domestic violence are going to take place when you're inside of a home. But the sexual revolution, encouraging women to give up their goods for free, which is what I'm speaking about, and encouraging men not to marry these women or to have long-term relationships, what I am saying is a direct contributor to their unhappiness, because women are giving up their goods for free, and women are now entering the workplace, and that does not actually make them happy.
Okay, pause. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
And again, I do think she was having a different debate. I do like how Candace, at least at this point, it's this beginning, she's very calm and open. I don't watch a lot of her content. I've heard some views that I agree with. I've heard more views that I disagree with. So I don't agree with her on. So, but she does her thing. She's in her lane and she's doing it. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful Black woman. But again, her ideas about how women pretty much have ownership over their own bodies, to do as what they will. Not every woman wants to get married. That's not their goal. I feel like Candace feels like it should be their goal. I feel like she thinks that's women's purpose, which comes from her Christian indoctrination, which is why I feel like they can't be allies to any women empowerment movement. And again, the receipts keep coming.
Hello.
Hi there.
How are you? I'm Candace.
Nice to meet you. Julian. My pronouns are they, them. It's very interesting to think of it when we just think about the gender binary. It's how do we place value on human beings in general? And so when we think about, placing value, that comes from a place of power, right? So I think let's select like the Victorian era. You have this dominant group of people coming from white supremacy, deciding who gets to have a proper status in the world. And so that is already like taking human beings and devaluing them. And so what the sexual revolution did was to help people seek out empowerment, which increased value no matter the gender. So when it comes to sexual revolution, let's look at one contribution is sex education. I'm actually an educator. I teach sociology and LGBTQ studies. And I have absolutely seen the positive outcome with the sexual revolution and sex education and seen people empower themselves. And with that comes safety when it comes to decreasing STIs, abuse, sexual assault. Again, people get to empower themselves of all genders. And I know earlier you mentioned about violence amongst lesbians and sapphic community, which I do identify within. All genders can be subjected to violence.
That was the point I was making. So I wasn't sure of how her claim was relating to what we were talking about, whether or not it makes people happy or unhappy. Relationships are obviously a ground where there can be violence.
I guess I could just wrap it up by saying, like, if we all have access to like sex education through the incredible work of feminists through the sexual revolution, we are able to gain access to information and gain skills to create an equitable society, egalitarian within our relationships, whether it be platonic or romantic. I'm so grateful for those feminists who have fought for us so we can gain those spaces and create a healthier society.
Okay, are you a believer in the government doing everything that it can to make people happy?
I like her demeanor. She came in with like a very positive attitude. Again, I like the way that this conversation is going. A lot of good questions are being brought up. I do believe that sex education is super important. I do believe that it does help to educate and help children understand their hormones and what's going on with their body and their feelings and the heightened feelings. Right. And to understand that your feelings of who you love, because I am an ally to, I believe myself to be an ally to the LGBT community in the sense that I do believe that they have the ability and the right to love who they want to love. Yeah, they're always confusing biology ability with purpose. Absolutely. Sorry, I really didn't think anybody would join me today. I just did an impromptu live. So thanks, Candace, for being here. If you're still here. I see that there's now actually 4 people in the live. I decided not to concentrate on it because I was here by myself when I first started. So thank you guys for watching. I can't stand the way Candace always tries to overtalk people. Me too. And she's super self-righteous, which is another thing that I do see consistent with Christian women, especially the conservative ones. I said at the beginning of the video that she kind of reminds me of the character. No, she does remind me, not kind of. She reminds me of the character Serena from Handmaid's Tale. She's like the black version of her. Like, she has this self-righteousness and this demeanor and deep indoctrination to the Bible and God, and it really to the point where it's a disservice. But okay, let's continue. Thank you guys for joining me again.
So when it comes, as someone that teaches in the public sector, I understand the concern when it comes about what is a teacher, what kind of information they're providing to the students. I do believe that we, as a teacher, I should be able to give that sort of information. Again, I teach college students. One of my claims is I believe that we should mandate sex education amongst college students. So yes, I do want the state, I would like the government to give us those resources so we can implement that curriculum.
Okay, you consider yourself a feminist, I'm assuming?
A queer feminist. There's variations, right?
What is a queer feminist as opposed to a feminist, just so I understand?
Well, so I heavily believe in queer theory. So, the gender binary that we understand, it comes from colonization. So someone who is mixed race, family from Mexico, we have the Muxés in Mexico, which is an indigenous tribe. They believe in gender fluidity. And then you have European colonizers coming who dismantle that. And now everything that we understand when it comes to gender is a Western lens. So from a queer...
So you don't even think women exist, I'm guessing.
I think everyone should be empowered to figure out their identity and explore the language that best describes themselves. So freedom, America, right? America, freedom. And I want to believe in that when it comes to identity. Right. Everyone should have the freedom to decide how they want to identify, as long as they're not causing harm. But that's where we get into the debate, what is harm?
So just... Again, to be clear, to go back to this claim, we are debating female happiness. You are saying you do not identify as a female.
I identify with all gender expressions. So from masculinity to femininity. So
I'm just saying, are you just saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are happier after the sexual revolution? I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like you're debating queer theory as opposed to female.
I believe all genders benefit from the sexual revolution.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I'm not gonna lie, you guys, they're not doing the best job with Candace. And I understand what Candace is saying, and she's being very disingenuous and very condescending. But I know that, again, as a Christian, she doesn't believe in these things. I do believe that gender is a construct in a lot of ways. I still need to understand a lot more about it before I can have a strong opinion on it. So I'm not the type that I'm just going to be able to say, and that's what I was leading to before. Like, I want people to be able to love who they love and be who they want to be. But at the same time, I don't understand all of it either. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to. I still have a lot to learn in that aspect. And even with the deconstruction of patriarchy and things like that. It goes into these things, how they set up gender, how they, and I would like to understand that more. And as I grow, I hope that I do. But let's continue, because she's going to go on to someone else. They haven't really been staying on topic. Again, I feel like a lot of them came with their own ideas about what they wanted to talk about. They kind of maybe tried to fuse it in, but it's not landing. But let's continue.
Hello.
I'm Zena.
Zena. Very much like your name.
She actually did. I saw, this was one of the clips that I saw. She did a really good job with her. She kind of ate her on up. But so I'm excited for you guys to see this. Let's get into it.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Can we start with the beginning? Do you identify as a female?
I identify as a woman, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I do want to get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So are you saying, but you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. According to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And
let me pull this back, because...
Are you just saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are... Okay.
Right. So I do want to get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. And this kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right.
What's weird about her saying that it has made women infinitely less happy is the fact that single women who are childless are the happiest demographic right now. And this is what I'm saying, like, she's a very educated woman, but for someone who's so educated, she's extremely ignorant. You know what I'm saying? And I think that comes from that religious aspect. Because if you look at the data right now, it's women who are thriving and happy and having loving relationships around them. They're single and they don't have children. So the statistics of today aren't a foundation for her thesis about how women are inherently less happy now that they have sexual independence. If anything, because a lot of women are actually, in fact, choosing not to have sex, right? They're choosing not to. They're celibate, they're abstaining. There's a whole 4B movement, right? Like, so I don't know where she's getting this idea. I think that she bases it on the foundation of what she's been raised to believe are supposed to be the values of a woman, which is to get married and have children. I think it's funny that although she believes her place as a mother is in the home, she also indulges a lot herself in the freedoms that feminism has brought her through the women who fought for the equalities and things. That's why she has her platform. So it's interesting to see nonetheless. Let's continue.
So are you saying, but you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. According to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free, because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? about Candace saying that I could have sworn whorehouses have existed since the beginning of time. Being married has never stopped men over sexualizing and going outside the home to find elsewhere. This whole purity idea is bullshit. And it's for men, because men want to believe that they have access to women at their disposal. That's how they want it. So they've always had women, separated women by like this purity. Oh, you're wifey material, but you're just for sex, because they have all these, you know, indecent behaviors. Really, a lot of males have a lot of, I mean, have you seen the things that they've been doing and caught doing? Like those men who, I don't know, they said it was an old article, but I don't care how old it is. But they were working at the turkey ball factory, and they were having sex with the dead turkeys carcasses before they wrapped them up and put them on the shelves. Was that, I mean, the depravity. I mean, there was this thing on TikTok that went viral, and the men had raped a lizard. Okay, Candace, I don't know. Did you guys hear these things? Am I on my own? I know there's a few people in here. Let me know if I'm on my own. Last I checked, you know, men only use the purity value of women as a resource to further, you know, oppress us, right? Oppressing our sexuality, oppressing that side of us, making us only a tool to be used to bring and to give birth, and to not know sexual pleasure at all. It keeps them in that leadership position. So I don't know what she's talking about. You guys can maybe help me out if you know for yourselves what the hell she's talking about.
Yeah,
As a human being.
Not as a human being, just, you know, in terms of trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship. Certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is throwing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I would say that I would argue that what makes women actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So
yes, so
men define.
Exactly, for men, for them. And why is it that it devalues them for them? I honestly think it's because it's like penis envy. You know what I mean? Like they're so worried that they won't be able to please you because you know your body, because you've had experiences. So they're measuring up to every man that they've been. And obviously a man who's maybe not as well endowed, maybe doesn't have the stripes, or maybe doesn't even have access to women at all, you know, to even have had a chance, would prefer someone with less experience. I think that's what it's really about. It's well known that they are assault sheep. They will assault sheep. They say their privates look like women's. Oh my, yeah. They really do. Bestiality is quite common with men. Not to say that women haven't been caught doing it, but it's more likely men. So you're not wrong about that.
Define a woman's worth.
well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay, so you're saying in all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family. Like
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And this is going to work in all cases. You're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family.
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything. I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more.
So the SAN fact check said this is conflicting research on this topic. Pew Research found that a higher percentage of adults want a career or close friends to be fulfilled compared to kids or marriage. While the Institute of Family Studies found married men and women are happier than their unmarried counterparts, largely because they have a family and support system. Here's the thing. So what about, and this wasn't done too long ago, but like I said, isn't the overwhelmingly, I thought we were overwhelmingly single women that it was. And not just that, why does being single and unmarried mean that you have no family? Like, You could be single. Just because you're single, all of a sudden you don't have a mother and father, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, and even creating your families of your own, which is kind of what you do as you grow up and you gain friends and you make friendships. You create loving relationships outside of those family members. Because come on, like some people don't have great family members. You know, a lot of people come from abusive homes. And I feel like those abusive homes have always been glorified, right? They've been set up, like she has this like Leave It to Beaver idea of what family is. And that's not a reality. Not when you look at the statistics of DV, the divorce rates. Like if people are so much more happier, why is the divorce rate so high? Is that because of sexual freedom? I mean, men were raping women when they rape women in burqas now, right? In these countries, women are still getting raped and devalued despite the fact that they are sexually repressed. In fact, isn't it higher in those places? I could have sworn, but again, let's continue.
More fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to, I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked as the highest in happiness and marital satisfaction from women, right? And we see that they also have been the most open in regards to like, you know, sexual norms and you know, sexual roles, right? So, and we also see that there's less rates of like STDs reported. We see more, and that's also due to comprehensive sex education that's pushed in those countries. So we see that and that's like a direct result of the sexual revolution, right? So when we're seeing that direct reports of happiness, right, we don't have these same rates in America. In these countries that are more sexually open, why would we see like those rates in those type of countries?
So I think you might be referring to this sort of mass-produced study that was a part of like a behavioral science study, which said that women were the happiest women in the world were women that were actually unmarried and had careers.
No.
Okay, well there was
reported happiness.
Okay, sure. I'm talking about the same thing. It was reported happiness, but it could be there's tons of studies. The point being is that in 2023, there was this massive scandal where they recognized that a lot of these studies that were being produced, behavioral science, was proven to be a complete fraud. And they were unable to reproduce these studies. And they also found that the data had been faked. The data that we can look at that I think shows, and you can let me know if you agree with this, if women, and under the imagination of the feminist umbrella, were really unhappy when they were in the home, and then entering the workforce has made women happier and infinitely feeling more secure about themselves, we could, I think, reasonably expect that there would have been a decrease in suicide rates amongst women.
You would have to go ahead and show how that correlation, right, is going to be a direct cause of women going into the workforce.
Okay, well, how can we, let's measure, then you have to give me a way that we can measure happiness. How can we measure happiness? I would say suicide rates would be a good thing to look at. Drug, alcohol consumption would be a good thing
right? But we would
look
have to, we can say, I can say at this point in society, I don't think everyone's happy. I think there's a lot of things that we need to reconcile in society.
That's what I'm getting at.
Right,
So
but we have to look at the cause, right? Why are these things predicted, right? And for example, if we talk about men, there are a lot of things we can look at, right? That you know tend to predetermine suicide, right? But we can't say, oh, these two things are happening at the same time. This caused this other thing.
Yes, that's right. But I do think that we can objectively say that women who are committing suicide rates more than they were in the 1950s, like it has actually increased marginally. That's not a sign that us entering the workforce suddenly made us
How
all
is
very
it
happy.
cause of the workforce?
Okay, so the fact is that the suicide rate among women is statistically unchanged since the 1950s, 5.6 per 100,000 compared to 5.9. So she's not right about that. And then honestly, again, hold on, let me see. You guys have some comments. Because they want to have someone to guilt trip into taking care of them when they age, and they can't do that outside of their children. That's also true, Kay. You're right about that. A lot of people do that. In regards to the unaliving rates, self-unaliving rates, I mean, it's men who are lonely in a loneliness epidemic. It's men who are the ones who, again, single men are unhappy. It's single women without children who are the happiest. And then then I believe it's men who are married, then women who are married. And then it's, men who are single. And finally catching us. Thank you, Vegan Butterfly. This was actually not planned. I saw this video of Candace yesterday, and I thought, look at this. Another great example of like why I can see how like Christian women cannot really truly be allies. I know that she's a Christian conservative woman. What I appreciate about her is that she's actually pretty upfront about it. Like, I know I can't trust Candace, and she tells me I can't trust her. You know, I like the honesty. The problem that I find with liberal Christian women is that they'll be like, you know, I may not agree with what you want to do with your body, but, you know, I believe that you should have the right to do whatever you want. And then they manipulate the word, and they're to me, because their Bible says what it says, right? And if you're a follower of that doctrine, I don't trust people who pick and choose just so they can look like a better human being. You know what I mean? Like, stand on that shit. But, okay, so let's get back into this video. It's so funny. I've been here for 35 minutes, and we are only 14 minutes in. Okay, maybe I should shut up. But I have opinions, and this is a commentary. So, deal with it. Let's continue.
People were also binge drinking at a higher rate.
How's this
We're
cause
taking
of
opioids at a higher rate?
How is this a cause of entering?
Because I think women are being put on a pathway aspirationally.
But you're gonna have to. You're saying you think this, right? But where's the cause? Like you're not substantiating claim. You're saying this is what I think. I'm seeing two.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Great job.
She stayed on topic.
Hello.
She tried to go again.
I'm Nikki. Nice to meet you. So when we're talking about the value of women on a societal scale and how we view each other, right? When you're devaluing us, you're objectifying us. And follow me, I promise. But rape rates have gone down by about half in the last 20 years, right? So if you're saying we're less valuable now, why wouldn't we?
Hold on. Grape rates over the last 20 years are difficult to track because the FBI changed the definition in 2013, which led to a significant increase in cases. Okay.
Suffering at a higher rate.
So is the argument that you're making, just so I understand, that because women are giving up sex for free, they're not being raped?
Every study shows rape is not correlated with just sexual gratification. It is a power structure.
Okay.
So it is about objectifying and abusing women when you rape them, not about whether or not you want sex. What I am saying is that women are less objectified, so therefore we are being raped less.
Okay, so you think that in today's society, because this is pretty wild for me. In the 1950s, you're saying women were more objectified than today in the land of OnlyFans, the Kardashian clan, and women that are essentially putting up their boobs and butts for free on Instagram. You're saying we finally have achieved less objectification, where women can't even get onto an advertising. You can't even advertise a bag without them having to be naked in order for them to get a career as a model. You're saying, oh great, we've achieved actually less objectification.
So I'm not trying to suggest that I think that the over-commodification of women's bodies is positive. But what I am saying is that when you're going to the 1950s, that we shouldn't put this glazed look of, oh, it was so happy. We had single income household and we got to stay home. We also had a pill popping problem. We also were viewed as maids. Like, we were seen as a house appliance far more than we were as people. And so when you have that kind of objectification where you are in a subservient position, I think we're facing a different form today. But I think that rape is a signifier of.
Candace sounds like men who are mad at women who have taken control of themselves and decided that they're going to take control of their sexuality. And if you want to have these situations with me, sexual interactions with me, you got to pay up. I don't have a problem with that, personally. I don't have a problem with that because the biggest, who's buying it, Candace? Who's buying it? Why is this such a hot commodity? Right? Like, it's mostly men who are buying it. They complain about OnlyFans, but who's buying it? Who's putting these women in business? There's a demand. And because women are now more in control, they can do their own thing from the safety of their homes or from the safety of other places. They control the assets. And again, like that, there's always been a whorehouse in town. Even back when they had horse and buggies. So this idea that, I'm not getting how she's trying to weave it into like, oh, this is such a problem. It's today women are now like, they give it everything away for free. And it's really not for free. It's a teaser. These women are making six figures off this on their own. They don't need a pimp. They don't need to step in at the whorehouse and or anything like that. They live their lives. They make their money. They catch their bag. I'm not hating on any woman for doing whatever she feels. Even like you said, Jessica, you said, yeah, I'm a single, child-free woman in my 40s. I'm pretty sure I'm happy. Being traditional wife always looks so boring to me. It's fine if you want that for yourselves. And I agree. I think women should do what makes them happy. You know, there's plenty of women who like Candace, wants that traditional lifestyle. I don't have a problem with women who like that. I have a problem with women who want that and then are trying to force that on every other woman that's out there, saying that they shouldn't, that they shouldn't or couldn't possibly be fulfilled, that they don't live their lives exactly like I do. Like, it's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. It's unwarranted. Let women be who they want to be. Let them love who they want to love. You know what I mean? Let them, I mean, within reason. If they're not hurting themselves or anybody else, what exactly is your issue? If it really doesn't affect your life, outside of making you maybe uncomfortable because you haven't seen it before, because you're not used to seeing it. Hold on a second, y'all. Sorry, I'm a city girl. Okay, I live in the city. So the fire alarms, not the fire alarms, the fire trucks, the ambulances and stuff like that, always going off. And I live between 2 fire stations, so that doesn't help. But I love my apartment. Anyways. So I do believe that this woman here that came up, she's making a really good case, and she's kind of staying on task. And I would agree with you. Although I'm a single woman, I do have 1 child, but I am happier on my own than I have been in most relationships. Not even before, you know, I always found myself happier on my own. Personally, I've never liked men being in my space too long. Like, I could live with other women, but men, I don't really like them in my space too long. I always said if I had to get married, I would need a big enough home where I had, like, if he has his man den, I want my goddess room where, like, you can't be in there. Like, this is my space. I need my own space. If wealthy enough, I want my own wing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I saw a meme, or it was like a little cartoon picture, and it was 2 houses and there was a bridge in between, and it was like, this is like, this is how marriage works. And I was like, I would actually love that. You know what I mean? Like, I've always liked my own space. I've had men in my space. And when, I swear, by like day 5, I'm like, when are you, like, you know, like, when I've been in a serious relationship, I'm kind of like wanting them to leave. Like, I kind of want space to myself. I kind of don't want them around. I don't know. That's just me though. But this idea, she has this like one-track mind. And again, it really is that deep indoctrination, because this is what a lot of church women believe, they stand on, and this is where a lot of it's rooted in them. Yeah, like a goddess den, exactly, Vegan Butterfly. I would love a goddess den. All right, let's continue. And I may not do I probably won't have time to do all of it, and I'll come back and do like a part 2. Because I also still have the Sunday revival at 2:30.
A contradiction to your statement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense, but I do want to rebut it on a couple of points. So first, I just want to say, suggesting that objectification has gone downward since the 1950s is wild. That's just a firm no. That is not the truth, and you know that's not true.
Wait, so do you feel
But
like
hold on, let me answer your second thing.
Okay.
Second thing, you then brought up, okay, women were at home, but they were pill popping. Well, you then have to acknowledge we're actually popping more pills now, right? So we have actually increased our amount of pill popping. Women are having overdoses on opioids. And on top of that, since I think 1999, by rate, we are increasing our opioid. So
the fact check says a 2018 study found that women were more likely to report prescription opioid use compared to men, 55% compared to 42%. Okay.
Use compared to men. So women are not popping pills less because we're going into the workforce. That's actually not true at all either. We're also, like I said to you, consuming alcohol more and binge drinking more than we did in the 1950s, which is why I was trying to get her to say, we need to look at actually give me any reasonable metric of how we can define happiness, because it's hard, right? Are you happy? Yes or no?
Sure, but wait, hold on. We're actually avoiding what my original point was about rape being the signifier.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Hi.
I like your hat.
Whitney Shanahan.
Nice to meet you.
I am fascinated by your claim that women have lost happiness since the sexual revolution, since the 1950s. Do you think that there's any tie to happiness and freedom and happiness and choice? Because since 1950s, since the sexual revolution, women have gotten exponentially more freedom and more choice. And for me, as a mother and as a woman, having the freedom to choose what I do, to make my own destiny, makes me infinitely more happy than, say, back before the sexual revolution, when I couldn't get a bank account, couldn't get a home loan, couldn't work outside the home, couldn't travel around without a man, couldn't control my own reproduction. So I feel that happiness, personally, my belief, is tied to our ability to have freedom. And I think that in the United States, protecting freedom and our individual freedoms is what's going to lead us to happiness.
Did you go to college?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Did you?
Yes, I did. So you have a degree?
Absolutely.
Now, when you went to college, did you go to college because it was simply something that you wanted to do? Or did you think that I have to go to college because in order to get a job, I have to have a college degree?
I went to college for art because I was fascinated with art.
Okay. Just answering my question, did you go to college? Was that the only reason you went to college? Or did you think that I might want to do something in art, so I have to go to college like for my career?
I went to school because I wanted to expand my horizons. I mean, I think that's why most people go to university. Why did you go?
That's actually not true. I went, and I think a lot of people go because there's a pressure that if you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure.
It's a choice. Everything's a choice. So taking away choices doesn't make people happier. Taking away freedom doesn't make people happier.
But Candace,
I'm disagreeing with you on the idea that
you
people
put that idea in your head that you were going to be a failure. A lot of that doesn't have to do with women having the choice and freedom to do so. That's because of the expectations you're putting on yourself, or even that your parents may have put on you, Candace. That if you didn't go to school, that's a big thing in the Black community. I know in the Caribbean, if you don't go to school, they consider you a failure. But what does that have to do with sexual liberation? If you're doing it to make others people happy, then of course anything you do that is to make others happy is going to make you feel inferior, make you feel sad. It's not going to make you feel fulfilled. Obviously, you're not doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for your happiness. You're doing it for others. You're doing it for notoriety. You're doing it for acceptance, for love. And that from people that is outside of yourself. And I think the key thing that Candace is missing is that happiness is something that comes within. Other people cannot make you happy. Being surrounded by other people, like if you speak to people who have depression and anxiety, they are around people all the time, but they are unhappy on the inside because it's an inside job. It's something that comes from within. It doesn't come from the things that are outside of yourself. That's how people get so caught up in relationships that don't work, because they think that if I marry this person, I'm going to be happy. If I have this child, I'm going to be happy. A lot of people have children because they want to be loved by someone unconditionally. We've seen that. And it doesn't work because that child grows into an adult who has their own wants and needs. And then there's this whole thing that happens because that same parent has now traumatized that child, thinking that child is wearing, like, I need to make my parents proud. I need to make my mother happy. I need to make my father happy. That's what's causing so much anxiety and depression in the world. We're not told to like go for what you want and go for your passions and goals. We're driven by capitalism. But again, how is that? I'm happy. She's not tracking for me. I'm not really understanding her perspective. Devious said, hi, Fairy. Hi, Devious Intentions. And then she said she uses such sensationalist talking points. Yes, men are more likely to agree when they hear her points, but only fans instead of historical data. Exactly. And the fact is, I think it's so funny that men are the ones who are like, oh yeah, only fans are about this. It's only because they do want it for free. They're mad that they have to pay to see what they feel is owed to them. That's why men are mad. But they'll sign up anyways. Like I said, the girlies are making six figures. I wish I had that. I wish I could. I've been looking into becoming a dominatrix myself. I just haven't had the confidence to just go full force. You wait, okay? You just wait till I indoctrinate myself fully and I really get into this goddess bag. Read Psycho but Sexy. Women are prescribed drugs. Really? Okay, that's it. I'm actually looking for book recommendations, so thank you for that. I'm gonna write that down before I leave for sure. I'm looking for book recommendations. I have to make a decision on the book club for that I'm having. Yes, you guys, I am having a book club. Actually, let me take a moment to talk about that with the little bit of people who are here. I am doing a book club. It's going to be on Patreon. The Patreon has 3 tiers, but the book club is only available to tier 2 and 3. And I would love it if you came. It is an all-woman space. I'm going to create a video about it so that you guys can know more about it in the details. But here's a little something about it. I did launch Patreon a week today. So
there's a place where mystery meets meaning, where black magic and divine truth awaken. Welcome to Blackberry Tingz, where we go beyond the surface and deep into sacred questions. Inside this sacred circle, we explore the roots of patriarchy, study sacred texts, and reclaim what was stolen. Join me for exclusive Bible studies, intimate book club lives, and the magic that just doesn't make the Sunday sermon. This is your invitation to walk with power, knowledge, and spirits. Join the Sister Circle on Patreon. Your empowerment begins within.
Okay, thank you guys so much. Yes, that's the book club. I actually a Bible study has already started. I posted the first Bible study last night. We do it Saturday evenings. And I went through Genesis, because I'm reading the Bible in chronological order. I went through Genesis 1 through chapter 5. And y'all, we'll talk about it later. But wow. I've never sat down and read the Bible in a chronological order. Now that my mind is open, I don't know how it got past me. But we're going to get back into this video. I don't want to get too sidetracked. And let's continue with Miss Candace's clear misses. Oh, but we don't see Candace cooking. Exactly, we do not see her cooking and cleaning. It sounds like she's trying to call the movement disingenuous. It does. It does. Oop, come on, guys. You know what I mean? Okay, let me press play.
People are feeling more free by financial pressure. I think financial pressure makes people feel remarkably less free.
So you want no bank accounts again? Women not to have credit cards?
I'm not saying that women shouldn't have access to credit cards or bank accounts. You're putting words in my mouth, so why don't you respond to the words that I'm saying?
Well, less financial pressure. If I don't have a bank account, that's a lot less financial pressure, I guess, right?
Financial pressure in terms of most people that go to college, and I'm counting myself among them, it's because typically in order to get the job that you're being sold is going to make you infinitely happier and infinitely more free, it just requires a college degree. And most of these people, to be clear, have to put themselves, the majority of people have to put themselves.
I just find it so annoying that she keeps saying that as if that's because of sexual revolution and not because of how capitalist society raises us to be. We are taught to go to school. We are taught to do this. We have to go to school to get a job. Then you'll be happy. That's American Western propaganda. It was like that even before. It's just a bit more liberal now because women have rights too, because they wanted to tax both. The sexual revolution helped. Well, I believe they manipulated it, right? Like, I feel like at every opportunity that they try to give us freedom, they manipulate it and enslave us in some different way as a system. But Candace seems to be missing that. Like, you really think this is because I wear miniskirts now, Candace, and because you can see some ass cheeks on IG?
Themselves into debt. And I don't think anybody would describe debt as a form of freedom, right? I don't think anybody would realistically say.
Let's get back to happiness. So we're here to talk about happiness and how the sexual revolution, and we're not talking about college debt.
I think it's important because we're talking about freedom. You just said that the reason why I feel happy is because I have more freedom. And I am saying that financial restraints and debt doesn't make people feel more free.
So let's eliminate the debt. Let's eliminate college debt. Maybe we should have free college here in the US. That sounds great. Great idea, Candace. I love that idea. All right. Love it. Woo! Champion for the people. Girl. Very nice.
All right, return to your seat.
Surrounded is now a podcast, available wherever you listen. Search Surrounded, plug in, and stay part of the
I know they're doing their commercials, but I don't want to listen to their commercials. That's not what we're here for. Oh, okay. We have a man coming out. Okay. So how long have I been on? And I'm only 21 minutes in, and I've been here for almost an hour. I'm still going to go. I still have a little bit more time. I was hoping to at least get halfway through and then be able to like maybe come back for a part 2. So we'll see. I'm definitely going to do a part 2 because there ain't no way I'm getting through all of this. It's been very interesting. Some people have been good debaters, others not so much. I'm still not understanding where Candace is really going with this. I don't think, I think she did a better job. She did do a better job with Candace. Yeah, that girl, she did do a better job with her. And the women have been staying more on task. I think at first, again, like I felt like people were more wanting to talk to Candace about what they wanted to talk to her about. The first couple ladies, not maybe the first lady, but the last couple have been really good.
No career will give women as much joy and fulfillment as raising children.
Oh, hi, Candace.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm John. Okay, so I feel like a lot of your arguments today are very rooted in a sort of old school perspective. I have to be honest.
Yes.
Like, I think, and I'm not trying to be insulting whatsoever. I feel as though most people would identify that claim as pretty extreme and pretty like...
Children are extreme?
Well, no, that women would get more happiness inherently from raising kids than having a job or deciding what they want to do with their lives.
Why is that? I'm just curious. Why would having children, which is just a natural biological conclusion, be something that sounds extreme?
I just said inherently.
Inherent.
That's the
extreme.
inherent expectation.
Yeah.
That's better for
It's inherent because it's biological. So I think when we think about things that are inherent, I think biology is a good thing to start with, right? So biologically speaking, men and women come together, they form families, and that's the reason why you're sitting here. That's the reason that I'm sitting here, is because biology is inherent.
Well,
so
I was
saying
jealous.
it's just natural order that we're...
But historically, Candace, that hasn't always been the case, which is why I'm loving the deconstruction of patriarchy, because she's simply going back as far as patriarchy goes. Because matriarchal communities didn't work like this. I actually want to do a series on matriarchal communities in nature and in the world, old and new, because there are some surviving matriarchies. There's not a lot, yes. One in China, specifically, I wanted to go over because their lifestyle there is very different. I do think there could be things that could be done better, but that's just looking, I guess, from a Western point of view, being raised in North America. So I did want to do that, but it wasn't always like that. Like, even as we are reading, I'm reading When God Was a Woman. And it simply is not a reflection of, and it just goes to show where her ignorance and her education stops. She has not looked out the outside world. She really thinks that the world has always been this way. And she probably really believes that a serpent talked to a woman into eating a fruit. And that's why we're here today. So, again, there's only so much expectation you can have.
That we're speaking about, right?
Okay, let's break it down. So why do you believe that? Why do you believe that?
Why do I believe that women...
Why do you inherently are happier? Yeah.
You keep stressing this word inherent. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I think because it speaks to natural order, and every piece of life, I think, is enriched by children.
You don't think it's natural for women to get to decide what they want to do with their lives?
I do not think that saying women can decide whether or not they want to go to work or have children is problematic.
You're
what
right,
I'm saying to you is
butterfly.
that women will get the most fulfillment from having a family.
Because it's natural.
It's natural, but also children are wonderful and beautiful and spiritually divine creatures. I mean, they're amazing. There's everything about having a child. Yes, it's a lot of work. It's beautiful.
That's her opinion. Not everybody wants that for themselves. What is going on? Why does she assume that because you have a uterus that you want to procreate? Not everybody wants to have a child. Even in the animal kingdom, yes, they procreate, but sometimes they eat their children when they're not ready to have a child. If they get pregnant too soon, they'll eat their puppies because of anxiety. You've seen this, like, and even in the more, amongst gorillas and things like that, they don't just pop out kids like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's a very intimate thing, and it's something that happens, and it's not how this society, like, I don't know. Candace just disgusts me when she talks about stuff like this. She does. She's on her third, I believe. She has 3. We're so far off and away from our natural rhythm. Even the Georgian calendar throws out. Yeah, it's true. That's true, Lilith. My grandmother had dog that ate her puppies. Yes, I swear it happens more common than not, right? So even sometimes, even in nature, when they aren't ready to have children, they'll dispose of the child. Like, not everybody wants to be a mother or is ready to be a mother. And I think that's okay. Like, she's making it seem like without that, like, how could you be happy as a woman? And it's just so, and he's right. It's very old school, misogynistic bullshit that she's spewing right now. That's crazy. Because even me, I have a daughter, but I didn't want more. You couldn't talk me into more. And I was a Christian when I had my daughter. And it's not to say that I don't love my daughter. I love my daughter very much. I had her. I made the choice. I was in limbo about what I wanted to do, and I made the choice for myself. I could have not had her. I probably, you know what I mean? I probably would have never told anybody if I had went that route at that time, because I was still somewhat indoctrinated. But I mean, I didn't want any more after that. You couldn't pay me to get pregnant again. You couldn't pay me to go through all of that again. It wasn't even, I wouldn't even say I had the worst experience as a pregnant woman. You know, I've heard other things, like some women lose their teeth. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and what it does to your body and your emotions and the hormones, like, you couldn't know. People were like, when are you having another one? Never. You know? Never. I mean, I did think about it here and there, but when I really, really thought about it, I was like, nah, that's not a good look. It wouldn't be responsible. You know, I knew that I would not be able to be the best mother I could be to multiple children. Does that mean that I'm not a woman because I don't want to have multiple? Like, that's, you know, I'm one and done.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, what if there's a little girl born and it's her dream her entire life to be an author or to be, you know, on TV or any of these things, and having children is very expensive. It takes a lot of time. So how is it better for that? Like, and I understand this is hypothetical, but that hypothetical little girl to have children than to pursue these things that would make her happy as she gets older?
I just think that if she publishes the book and she has a child, she would agree with me that the child was more fulfilling and made her happy. That's what I'm happier than the book did, is what I'm saying. And I say this as a published author of New York Times. I would choose my children over my best-selling book, and I was.
You know how many women say that they regret marriage? Like, if you talk to the older generations, a lot of the women would say they would have never gotten married. They were forced into marriage. They didn't want to marry. They didn't have the sexual education to not get pregnant. So a lot of them got pregnant. They had to marry that man and stay married. Her perspective is solely from her. Like, I'm an author and I have children, and I know that being a mother is way more fulfilling than being an author. To you, Candace. And that's not a reflection for every woman at all. I don't even think it's the reflection for majority of women. I think if we were actually honest with women about what childbirth was like, what pregnancy was like, because it's so beautiful. And then you come to them with the symptoms like, oh yeah, that happened to me too. I was throwing up all the time. I threw up the whole time I was pregnant. I thought you said it was, oh, well, it's beautiful in the end. It's all worth it, right? Like, they talk shit. Even she isn't happy with only being a mom and a wife. Exactly. She's an intellectual global threat and self-made multimillionaire. She, of all people, should not be talking about women being solely happy only at home. Exactly, Lilith. You are extremely right. I'm Gen X and I was pushed to marry. I was very unhappy. And then we see that a lot. There's this, and I wanted to find the video, because her actual video, I followed her on Instagram for this. It was an Indian woman. I think they're Caribbean Indian or even South American Indian, in the sense of that they are Indian by culture and race, but they were born in like Guyana or something, like they were Guyanese, maybe even Trinidadian. But she sits there and she asks her mom and her aunt, what would you do? What advice do you give about marriage? And they said, don't get married. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, that's what they said. They said, don't do it. Even with children, I would have never had children. I love my children, but I would have never had any of you if I had a choice. A lot of women feel this way. I wonder where she's getting this data, because I feel like if we were to really look at it, and those older generations had the same choices we had now, they would never be in that situation. I say this having been a very traditional wife and mother in the past. I loved the choice that I made to live that lifestyle, but I admit I also struggled with a lot of depression. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like she's naming all these things that happen that we could do outside of ourselves to generate happiness. But I think that happiness comes from within. I don't even think Candace is really all that happy, to be honest. I think she portrays herself as happy, but I don't think she's necessarily as fulfilled as she speaks of. I think she's doing what works for her, but I really don't see that she's like, to me, she never really seemed like a happy person. I don't know. She just genuinely seemed like, the thing about Candace is like, she's kind of like, she's firm in her beliefs and all that, but I don't necessarily find her like threatening. Like those are her opinions. They're based off her values. And I think that she's a warning of like the kind of Christian women that we see that are really not for the movement forward of women. She can see herself in this aspect because she has the lifestyle that she has and built for herself. And yes, it may be to her advantage, but let's face it, back in the 1950s, she wouldn't have been able to even marry her husband, right? Like, would she have been able to marry her husband back then? No. Like, the husband that she has, the choices that she had to even be in the same rooms as him wouldn't have existed back then. So she's hypocritical a lot. I agree. It sometimes feels like she's trying to convince herself through us. Exactly. Why is this considered only fulfilling? Yeah, it's only fulfilling for women to have children. Yep, that's exactly how she frames it. When in fact, women who have had that concept will say, oh, my husband's not helping me. They're not helping me. I'm sure Candace has nannies and everything else. Christian women, they are crazy. They are. That's why I said they're not beating the allegations. Because
that little girl who had a dream that like,
this is the foundation. Who Candace is the foundation of which they built their faith and their worldview. Whether they're as extreme as she is, they have pieces of her inside them, which is why I say I don't trust them in a growing movement. If you say you're a Christian woman and you're in a women's empowerment movement, I'm just looking at you a little bit side eye is all I'm saying. I don't hate y'all. You know what I mean? I don't hate Candace. I like the way that she engages in conversations. I sometimes, like I said, I've agreed with her, but I've disagreed with her way more. But I do like how she presents herself. She's super beautiful. She is intelligent in a lot of ways. I don't think that her views on feminism and women are educational based. I think they're indoctrinated based from her faith.
Oh, it would be really great if I could share my thoughts and ideas in a book, but it is utter insanity for me to reflect on that and say that I would have rather published Blackout than to have my 3 children.
But why is it rather? You see what I'm saying?
It's not rather. I'm just saying
well, that's
that
your claim. That's your claim.
It will be more fulfilled.
Right.
Yes.
So rather.
Well, if it's an either or, if you're saying it's an either or, I'm just saying that if these 2 things have happened in your life, the thing that will bring you more spiritual fulfillment will be children. And so women who are neglecting that, who are neglecting the pathway to, strive toward family because they think their career is going to hug them at night, or they think that when they're on their deathbed, their career is going to come up next to
people die alone, period. I hate that. Oh, you're going to die alone. You think most people don't die with their family surrounding them. It's usually unexpected. Let's be real, because we don't know when we're going to go. Not everybody gets sick and is on their deathbed and like, I have 24 hours to live. Give me your hand, dear child, and let me give you your blessings. Like, what are you talking about, Candace? Most people die alone. Most people don't die surrounded by their loved ones. Like, come on. It's absolutely, she's ridiculous. And she's like using like rom-coms as her foundation. Like, what are you talking about? The Notebook here, Candace? Like, okay, I feel like I'm being a little bit of a bitch, but am I right or am I wrong? Like, what is she talking about? And the fact is, she wants all the perks of that feminism has brought her by even being on this platform and having a voice to speak in the first place, right? And just like you got, who said it earlier? Was it Lilith? Hold on, maybe it was Vegan Verified. Yeah, it was Lilith. Even she isn't happy with only being a mom and a wife. She's an intellectual global threat and self-made millionaire. She, of all people, should not be talking about women solely being happy. She wouldn't be happy if she was just at home, Lilith. She loves this. This right here, she loves this, even though she likes the debate. Like, that's why I think that she can be kind. Like, she just thrives in this environment. And it's funny because she's taking it for granted. She would never have been allowed in that room, especially as a Black woman. So if we were still under what she claims to believe is what would solely alone make women happy. Says that the women who are maximizing her income, earning, and intellectual potential and still pushing to be what she believes to be is her highest potential. Oh my gosh, Liz, you're speaking real facts right now.
To them and say, you were so great to me. I think that they've stepped into a delusion, and I'm hopeful that they wake up from it before it's too late.
All right, pause. Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
I think you did a great job. You did a great job.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Okay, so currently women make up about 47% of the workforce. If this were the case and that women were just inherently unhappy.
She is so gorgeous, this girl. You see her with her locks. You see her eyes. She gives like, and remember, I'm saying she's beautiful, but she's like, has this ethereal, mermaid, alien vibe to her look that I just love. I'm sorry, I wanted to say that. I'm gonna pull it back because I want to know what this is, what this is about. Just gonna pull it back a little bit. But I just looked at her like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. Her eyes, her locks, I really am honing on her eyes, but her features are just so like, it's giving Haley Bailey from, Chloe and Halle Bailey. Ugh. But yeah, like that mermaid, ethereal, mystical look. But anyways, this is not about that. Sorry,
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'll never give a beautiful
compliment. Women make up about 47% of the workforce. If this were the case and that women were just inherently unhappy.
So it says women made up 40% of the U.S. civilian labor force in 2023, according to Pew Research. That's up from 30% in 1950.
Or unfulfilled working and would just prefer to be at home. Why don't they?
Because we've made that due to prior feminist waves nearly impossible, because now, which I believe the reason that the government wanted women to enter the workforce was because it gave them an opportunity to tax a household twice. And so this goes back to
even I said that. So now she's even I said that, Candace. Okay, so you know a little bit, but you again weave it into your ignorance and your indoctrination. So it says there are a number of reasons more women entered the workforce: the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, access to birth control, recognition of sexual harassment in the workplace, and the ability of women to apply for a line of credit without male cosigners starting in 1974. Let's see where she's going with this, because this does not help her thesis and debate.
Back to what I was saying is that there's a lot of financial pressure that is being exerted on young women to enter the workforce, and they do so blindly under this illusion that somehow entering the workforce is going to make you more fulfilled, like getting yourself into.
It's not about fulfillment. We're trying to live, Candace. Not all of us are self-made millionaires yet, and because of that, we don't have the resources. They have to work. You can't survive on a single household income right now. So even if it was women's dream to not work, we aren't living in a society that creates a space for that to even be the case anymore. Like, what are you talking about? Have you gone through a freaking grocery store right now? What? And a lot of people who do want kids are actually not having kids simply because they can't afford it. So having children in this economy would not help anybody.
6 figures of debt going to college to then take on a career and be in debt and having to pay student loans while you make $35K is going to make you happier. And I'm saying that isn't actually true.
Okay, so I hear that.
Yeah.
At the same time, would you not agree that women can both have a career and have children? I mean, you are actively doing that right now.
And I want to be very clear, because I'm actively doing it right now. I would be someone that you would call an exception because I get to work from home. I get get to wake up in the morning. I don't have a boss, right? I don't have to go into the office from 9 to 5. I get to then therefore spend the entire morning with my children.
So you're an exception, and the 47% of women that make up our labor force are also an exception?
No, the exact opposite. So I'm trying to make it more realistic because I think it's really bad form when people who are able to stay at home, right, and are able to start working at, 1:00 p.m. as I do after being around their children, the children are running around all day, will then preach to you that every woman can have this. That's not the reality. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of people are stuck behind a desk all day and they're not happy. They're not doing work that gratifies them at all. And at the same time, they're suspending.
Well, that's just what career you've chosen. But I think that the issue with
work a 9 to 5, I think that's
okay.
the
Yes, but
right?
if it's the job that is making them unhappy, then maybe they should have chosen a different career path and not the structure of the career itself. But my issue with this is that not only is it claiming that women can't both be mothers and have jobs, which we know to be true because millions of women do that. My mother does that. You are actively doing it right now. But it also is qualifying what every single woman in this country.
One of the books that I was thinking about doing for the book club, which will start next month, where you can join Patreon now. I'm getting the things together. I want people to have time to get the book, all that stuff. But one of them was Women Has Always Worked. I don't think that's the exact title of the book, but majority of women have always worked. So this idea that we were at home living this luxury lifestyle, that was for the wealthy. Women that were like middle class, that were in poverty, they worked. So again, it's about debunking all these lies. And I wonder, does Candace even take the time to research the other side? Does she just research from on one side? Because that's what I don't like to do that. I like to listen to both perspectives of things, regardless even if something makes me feel uncomfortable, I can look at the other side. That's why I'm on it. That's why I can deconstruct patriarchy and deconstruct Christianity, because I have the mindset where it's like someone told me, hey, did you think about this? This doesn't make sense. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't. Where does that come from? To me, that's how I work. I've always been that way. I may have been more shy about it, more secretive about it. And because I wanted acceptance from my family at the time, I was younger, but I don't know. It's blowing my mind. Oh my gosh. So wait, we have some comments. There is no way Candace is working less than 40 hours a week, running your own business. Petrie's much means you have to work way more than employees work. Absolutely. I have that book. Do You Vegan Butterfly? It's on my list. I was really thinking about that being the first book. I'm not sure though, because you guys made some great recommendations. I'm going to go through all of them today. And then I'm going to choose a book. I'm going to choose the first book. The following books will be able to the following books will be able to vote on as a group. And I also want to create a workbook for it. So I have a lot to do today, but let's get back into this.
Country wants without any clear evidence. I mean, there's 169 million women in this country. How can you say that you know exactly what every woman secretly wants? Are you asking them?
That wasn't my claim that I secretly know what every single woman wants. I'm saying that if you measure up at the end of your life, what brought you more fulfillment? Your career.
Because she's saying that because we biologically can have children, that supersedes our wants and needs, because it's biology, it's biological, it's what we do. When in reality, not every woman can have children. There are women who are not trans women who can't have kids. That doesn't make them less of a woman. That doesn't make them less fulfilled. Some may feel less fulfilled if they do want that. But I honestly believe, again, it's mostly based off societal structures, why we feel this way. Because I feel like if we were honest about childbirth, which I am with my daughter, and my daughter has told me she doesn't want children. You know what I mean? She's like, what? I don't want kids. But I think if you're honest about what childbirth really is like, what pregnancy is really like, how you're really putting your life at risk. I didn't understand how much I was putting my life at risk when I had my daughter and chose to have my daughter. I didn't understand these things. No one taught me. No one really told me. They don't present pregnancy and childbirth and motherhood to you in a realistic view. They don't talk about postpartum until you're already in postpartum. You know what I mean? Come on.
Or children, raising children in your family. we will discover that, and there actually have been studies, people that have gone to people on their deathbeds, and the number one regret that people had was that they gave too much to their careers. And this includes men, by the way.
Well, yeah, that's
Too
true.
much,
I mean, of course,
so
human
that-
relation is going to be valued over money and profit.
So then
but
you
at
don't
the same
disagree
time,
with-
what
you
does
don't
that
disagree
even
with my arguments
I do
at all.
disagree with
You're
your
agreeing with my
argument.
argument.
Yes, humans prefer humans over a job, but that's not just singular
Okay.
to women. That's everyone. And my question is, what does that even have to, like,
Right.
what is the goal of that? Should every woman quit working and just have a child?
Well, I'm just trying to warn you that if you decide to suspend that pursuit of family because you think that you have to first climb the ladder, a lot of women make that mistake and they don't end up finding a
But
partner.
that's their right. It's free will.
You
We
will
live in
definitely
free
have a right
country.
to make
You
a
don't get to say
mistake.
what people should and shouldn't do.
I don't think my claim is this is what people should or should not do. I'm just simply stating that my claim is that you will be more fulfilled if you focus on
You don't
trying
get to decide
build
what
a
other
family.
people are fulfilled by.
Okay, I am making my claim here that women are infinitely more fulfilled in the household and raising children than they are taking that 9-to-5 job.
But you have no evidence of that. In fact, you are evidence against your own claim.
I'm not evidence against my own claim.
You are.
I'm saying
You're
that
here at work right now.
I've literally said, I am telling you, women cannot have it all. That is an illusion, and that is an illusion that is stressing women out. And I think it is the reason why so many women are turning to popping pills, why there's been such a significant, more than 1,000% increase since
But men can have it all.
1999.
Men can be
The
fathers and have a job.
checked is her exact claim can't be verified, but in general, women use antidepressants at twice the rate of men. And I bet you it's because of their association with men. I'm laughing, but I'm friggin' serious. We live in a world where we are told that our worth is tied to a man. Who wouldn't be depressed? Who wouldn't be depressed? That's depressing as fuck. Like, the world that they create for us is depressing. Of course, we're on more antidepressants, not to mention that men are not conditioned to even look at themselves and say, oh, I'm depressed. It's the way that our society is built and framed that makes it impossible for us to be real about how we feel and what we want, even in the realms of sexuality. Because as much as she's talking about lesbian women, a lot of, well, let's talk about down low men. The reason why they're in these relationships with women and ultimately abusing them is because they can't be who they really want to be and be with whom they want to be. So I don't know. I don't know, Candace, but this girl did a really good job. She definitely did a good job at challenging her, and she asked the right questions. She even kind of went into the question that you just asked, Renaissance woman, right? Someone should ask why she's working versus being a trad wife. If it's so much more fulfilling, then why do you work, Candace? Why do you do the podcast? You don't have to do any of this. Your husband's very well off himself, if I'm not mistaken. You could be a trad wife. But yet she chooses to use the freedoms built off the backs of feminist women and then condemn them. It's crazy.
A job, but women can't do that.
I don't think you can have it all.
It
No.
sounds like you're devaluing women. I think that women can do
No,
everything
it
that a
sounds
man
like
can
women
do,
is
and
our-
men have done this historically throughout time and
It is,
memoriam.
I think women is our debate topic today. So
Yeah,
we're
but
not,
I mean,
we're not
women exist in a society with men. We are comparing
women
women
are
and
trying
men.
to be both women and men, and that is why women are unhappy today. Is because actually, what's quite ironic about the feminist movement is that
I think women are just trying to be people.
I think women have been taught that being a woman is not enough, and that you have to also aspire to be a man, and that's the irony. It's like a psychological conditioning.
What she's saying is aspiring to be as a man is inverted. Again, this is from her indoctrination. Because me reading When God is a Woman, people can't come at me with this anymore, right? Oh, they're trying to be a man. No, men have consistently been trying to be women, being the leaders, being of government, things like it was always women. Being the head of spirituality, women. It all goes back to us. How could someone that I birthed, that is a mutation of me, do it better, know better, be in a better position? But okay.
Feminists went out and did and said is that in order for women to have value, women need to be like men. And I'm
Okay,
saying that
Candace, can I
actually women
propose
and men are
hypothetical?
biologically different. There are differences in our behavior. There are differences in our desires. And I think evidence of the feminist movement, by the way, shows us that, because even when women enter into the college education space, the pathways of career that we choose are different from men because we're biologically different, right?
Okay, so let's say that this is true, that women truly are more fulfilled at home. Now, the average cost of raising a child a year is around $21,000 or more. So my issue is, are you saying that women should just suddenly stop working and now the onus is entirely on men?
So I just wanted to read the SAND fact check. And it says Lending Tree estimates its Lending Tree estimates it costs $29,419 per year to raise a child. There are multiple estimates above $20K per year. Okay.
Men like
enter into the college education space, the pathways of career that we choose are different from men because we're biologically different, right?
Okay, so let's say that this is true, that women truly are more fulfilled at home. Now, the average cost of raising a child a year is around $21,000 or more. So my issue is, are you saying that women should just suddenly stop working and now the onus is entirely on men? Like, the society that you're pitching is not sustainable economically.
It was sustained economically.
But it's not right
All
now.
right, pause. Naima, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
You did a good job.
Hi, I'm Ceci.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So your claim is that women will be happier at home. I think you're conflating, though, happiness with importance, because I get what you're saying, where a woman can write a book and have kids, but the kids are always going to make her happier. But I think it just means that kids are always going to be more important, not necessarily make you happier. But also piggybacking on Naima.
I like what you said there. That is exactly what it is. And I think that is exactly what it is. Kids, gearing children is more important. It takes precedent because you're responsible for that human being. It's not that it makes you happier. It's the more important task and goal at hand to raise a decent human being, because they're a reflection of you out in the world, and all that stuff, all that pressure and stuff like that is way more important than the job at hand when you are juggling both.
We don't live in an economy where people typically can have a one-income household, right? Whether it be the mom or dad that stays home.
Okay, so they're getting into what I was talking about.
And so I think, and you keep bringing up the 1950s, which
this was right before the fact.
I just don't know if that's the period of time that you want to go back to.
No, I'm just going back to the first wave of feminism.
You want to undo progress that's been done. So I'm curious as to what decade you'd be comfortable living in, especially as a Black woman.
Okay, so we're gonna park aside the race politics, because I want to focus on.
Okay, then as a woman, what period of time do you want to go back to?
Just as a woman, I think that it was probably a better environment for women when we understood that raising our children was.
You're not answering the
But
question.
some women still do understand that.
Right.
And a lot of women
and I'm one of them.
And I'm here advocating for you to be able to live the life that you want, and for other women to be able to live the lives they want.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay. You have a career, I presume?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you work at? What field do you work in?
I do hair.
Okay. Wonderful. So I have both children and a career, as somebody pointed out. And so the fact that I'm saying that you will be infinitely more fulfilled at the end of the day by raising your children than you will be if you come home and you say, wow, I really crushed it dyeing somebody's hair today.
So because Candace is now, I guess, God. She's God and Jesus. Because she says, I know, you guys, I'm infinitely more fulfilled as a mother than I am in my workplace, even though I won't stop working to just solely concentrate on being a mother. So because I'm telling you that that's how I feel, and that's been my experience, that if you do it too, that will also be your experience. She's not even contributing the fact that a majority of men are actually fucking terrible people, just statistically, right? She's telling women, get in bed with your biggest predator, right? Majority of men are not quality men. And I don't think the majority of men should have access to women. I think that's another patriarchal lie that they had to put in place in order to keep men happy and to keep them in line with even being under the wealthiest of men, right? Like, give them a woman. Like, if you make them feel like they can have a woman, we can make them feel like they are something. Like, they can't have the kingdom, but they can create their own kingdom by overruling a woman and creating a family to overrule, to make them feel like they are the kings of their home, because they'll never be the kings of their countries and cities and the world. But that's just my thing. But yeah, she cooking. The 1950s was literally a decade and couldn't sustain past the decade before the collective pushed against the standards set for men and women in the 50s. You're right, Lilith. Everyone can have it. Everyone can have it all. It's just what all means to you. Yes. If women want too much and they are never happy, if you say so. Women want too much and they are never happy. Okay. Are you a woman happy neuron? Kind of sounds like you're sitting in these places with a micro penis with that kind of energy. Women want too much. Women just want to be able to be people, just like that girl said. We just want to be able to do what we want. We don't want you guys as everything as a man to like come and try to infiltrate your needs in order to make you feel like your penis is large and in comparison to your counterparts because you have a wife and you have a family. Look how fertile I am. Raw. You know what I mean? Like, no. Women want the freedom to be and want what they should have, which is whatever they want, whether it's children, whether it's not children. Men can't create life, so they created a male god to create. They stole the creation from women. Absolutely vegan butterfly. Thank you. I'm cooking. Thank you. Also, the 50s was an attempt to stop women's progress and presence in the workforce. Women were holding it down at home and work. Before the 50s, because men were fighting in the war, men were threatened. Yes, and even before that, when you look at the medieval times and things like that, women worked. They worked the bars. They had the prostitution, like whorehouses. They had women been working. They were seamstresses and things like that. Like, women have always worked. It's ridiculous. Like, she's lying. Everything to a man is a wife, child, and home. That's it. Women are why women are never happy. That's not enough for them anymore. Modern women only care about themselves and things. Family, faith, and future means nothing to them. Yeah, okay, so you're obviously like a Christian troll. And that's fine. You have the right to your opinion. You're not being disrespectful in any way. So I'm not going to boot you off, or even you're not being rude. So I'm not going to, be rude to you, even though I think like what you're saying is complete bullshit. Happy Neuron. I think women should care about themselves. Women caring for others hasn't done anything for them at all, except put them in oppressive situations to be subjugated. Men are happy with, you said a man is a wife and child at home. That's it. That's a lie, because men cheat all the time. Happy Neuron. Like, you guys, men cheat all the time. You're not enough for them. Women are the ones who say you can't have it all because of them. To them, all means lots of money, lots of things, lots of trips, no responsibilities. Men, to us, everything is family and a home. That's again another lie. You're just repeating misogynistic rhetoric. Everything you're saying is not based by facts. Do you have a wife, Happy Neuron? Do you have a wife? Do you have married friends? You sound like one of those men who complain about gold diggers when you have absolutely like no gold at all. Because if you want to have a family and a home, you need to be able to provide shelter. If you want that woman to stay in that home and raise those kids, you need to be able to provide that lifestyle. But because she wants you to be able to provide a lifestyle for her where she can do so for you happily, that makes her selfish? Men are selfish. You think that women should give up their lives and their wombs to you to create life that you don't support and that you don't help with majority of the time. Devious intention. I'm a man and I'm the one who said we can't have it all. We only have so much time and we should prioritize what matters to us. You heard all and assumed it was more than you could provide. That's true. That's true, Devious. I didn't know you were a man. See, and that's the thing. This space has introduced me to a lot of men who are like-minded, who are not as fucking ridiculous as a lot of these men out here are, and I just want to say that I appreciate you guys for that. Like, I'm like, oh, no, look, not all is lost. Some of these men really do get it. It's a little bit of you. I know there's not a lot. Like, it's like I'm gonna say like maybe like a good 2%, but that I've come across. But the ones who do, I do appreciate. And he said, women are miserable because they listen to women. Women all lie. They lie to each other. You're an incel. But go on. I'm not gonna keep talking to you, Happy New Year. You're probably happy right now that a woman that looks like me would ever take the time to talk to a man like you. You would never. It's always the ones who, like, women are miserable. Again, the statistics show that we are happy without y'all. Okay, we get a dog, we get our own place, we pay for our own things, our home is beautiful, we hire the maids if we want, or we do it ourselves, whatever the case may be. We're just living happy. It's a right. Happy Neurons probably can't and won't fully provide, so the expression of feminine that if the patriarchy wants can actually rest and play the role that they say they want. Exactly, Lilith. Women don't like the fact that their values lie with their virginity and morals. That's with you. You can't even get a virgin or non-virgin to get with you, Happy Neuron. Don't be over here projecting on us. I'm going to go back to the video.
Today. what is it exactly that makes you angry about hearing that? Like, that's what I'm actually trying. I'm
Like,
trying to get.
because I don't know. I'm going to pull it back a little bit because I don't know what she thinks.
Women to be able to live lives they want.
Do you have children?
No.
Okay. You have a career, I presume?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you work at? What field do you work in?
I do hair.
Okay. Wonderful. So I have both children and a career, as somebody pointed out. And so the fact that I'm saying that you will be infinitely more fulfilled at the end of the day by raising your children than you will be if you come home and you say, wow, I really crushed it dyeing somebody's hair today. What is it exactly that makes you angry about hearing that? Like, that's what I'm actually trying. I'm trying to get to the implicit revolution.
That's the thing, is that no one is
someone
angry.
mentions children.
No, see, no one's angry when you mention children. I get angry, I guess, when you mention that someone should have a children, or you're trying to impose a lifestyle onto people that you want to live, which I think is kind of funny because as someone who's anti-feminism, you practice it more than most women do. I mean, every time you get on your podcast, every time you collect a check, you're practicing feminism.
Exactly.
No, that's what it is.
Actually,
because without feminism, you wouldn't be able to exist.
Yeah, people keep saying, I hate when people say that.
But it's just the
it
truth.
just shows that you haven't done the research to even understand where the
Or you don't know
came from,
history.
which was discovered. That's what I'm saying about you, because it means that you don't understand that a bunch of government officials in the CIA funded the feminist movement. So for all of your
The CIA funded organizations associated with the feminist movement, including Independent Research Service founded by Gloria Steinem. I do know that that is true, which is why I have a hard time even I don't like calling myself a feminist because one, I don't think women are equal to men. I think we're superior. Yeah, I said it. Okay. That's one thing that doesn't make me a feminist. But also, but even though I believe that women are superior, I do believe that women and men should have the equal opportunity to become whatever and whoever they want to be. If they, you know what I mean? And to do the training and to get the education. I think if it were that way, you would see women in more positions because women have been scientifically proven to be able to be better multitaskers, better leaders. Right, I have a video called "Women Are Superior" on my channel where I provide the evidence for that. So I'm not going to go into it here because I went over it in that video. I should rewatch it and see where I can maybe get more information. But this is not about that. So that's why I don't really like calling it. But the government infiltrates all sorts of things all the time to corrupt it and bring it down. Right? That's what they do. That's why they keep winning. They will see a movement, an uprising, and they'll infiltrate it. They'll pervert it. And then all of a sudden what the movement what had started out to be is you can't recognize it. But that's not why they use feminism. She's using what they helped create to live her life the best that she's living it right now. So I still don't see what she's saying. It says some of you guys said I'm ignoring Happy Neuron. He can stay and help the algorithm, but I'm ignoring him. Okay, I want to scroll up. My mouse must be dying. I'm gonna skip Happy Neuron. All we are doing now is broadening the expression of feminine beyond the patriarchy, cherry-picked and emphasized the only valid expression. Absolutely. Kayla said, Happy Neuron, modern women don't have value. Why? Because I'm not dumb enough to be a mid-nanny chef escort for free under the guise of marriage. Absolutely. Happy Neuron is men who are run through. Absolutely. And the Y chromosome is dying out in the future. Period. Men will not exist. Right, Kayla? Yeah. Let's stop feeding the miserable troll. He only provides. I'm telling you, this is his probably kink, you guys. He comes into this and he knows in the world that he lives in, that he would never be able to talk to any of us. He would never enter a room and even dare to even look at us because his micro penis, he just knows that he would we would feel the vibe because, we know. Right? Especially look at him with all his women with attitudes. You couldn't get women to catch attitude with you if you wanted to. Okay, you have nothing to offer. You know that you're probably riddled with erectile dysfunction because that's happening to men earlier and earlier now. Please, if you want to be with a woman who wants to be 50-50 with you, and to her that means going and becoming this wife to you and all that stuff, do that. There's plenty of women still out there. The thing is that you guys want the women who don't want you. There's plenty of women that would be happy to be with him and take his bullshit, but he's over here trying to change our minds and infiltrate our space. And it's because, again, women like us he would never in the outside world have an opportunity to be amongst us, ladies. He would never.
Your hatred for the patriarchy.
I'm so confused. So my question is it bad that they funded it or bad that it just happened?
Men wanted women to go into the workforce, the government, which had a lot of men, it was being.
Are you talking about because World War II occurred and we had to go to factories, and then when we left the factories, they forced us back into the homes?
That's not what I'm saying at all. So let me tell you what I'm saying, and then you can respond to it.
Go for it.
Gloria Steinem is considered to be a feminist icon, right? Because she led these protests. She also had a bunch of music festivals. She got students involved. It is just a fact that Gloria Steinem was funded by the CIA, okay? The CIA, being the male-dominated CIA of the 50s and the 60s, funded those movements. So what do you think was the explicit aim? Do you think it was because the government really wanted you to be more free, that they wanted to encourage women to enter?
Well, I have to be honest with you, I couldn't speak on behalf of the government.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And what their intention
I think it's important because you just said
that
that I don't know history. And I think it's pretty important if you're going to sit across from me and say, I don't know history, that you learn a piece of history and then question.
You keep bringing up men. And I think it's funny because we should talk about men more. Like you brought up suicide. They're 4 times more likely to kill themselves.
Which is why.
And while women, we're twice as more often on antidepressants, but that's because we go out and do what we need to do to keep coping.
We're not happy.
And we need to focus on men and the patriarchy because it's actually oppressed them just as much as women now emotionally, right? Because when we're kids, our parents teach us how to cross the street. Look both ways so you can get the other side unharmed. When a boy comes across a feeling, and I'm using men and boys here because they're the ones suffering, women are too, but emotionally, when they come across a feeling they haven't felt before, we have to teach them how to get to the other side and cope with it. Otherwise they stay where they are. That anger and resentment builds. That's the feeling they become most comfortable with. That's the feeling they go to first in most situations.
Right,
so we need to stop telling our boys that they don't cry because they do. They just do it alone and then they become even more alone.
She did a really, really great job. I am going to stop here, though. We've been on live for an hour and 40 minutes. Thank you guys so much for being here. I saw it. Well, from what I saw, I was sometimes on the other screen. I think we had 11 people at one point, which is really good for me and my little channel that's growing. I'm so happy that there's so much like-minded people and that we can have great discussions on this. Devious intentions, yeah, it makes it hard to organize when the ops get their hands on the movement and feed the side that disenfranchises the other. The heads of BLM suck for what I hear. Yeah, they did do that in BLM as well. And they're like, that's what I'm saying. But she's blaming that. Oh, the government. Like, so why are you attacking women? It's the same government that are making the women be in the position that they have to work so hard in the first place. Why 2 incomes aren't even enough at this point, much less 1. Like, I don't really see what she's saying. Having children does not guarantee happiness. If anything, studies would suggest otherwise. I am for having kids, but only with the right person. Absolutely. And you don't even know if that person's the right person. A lot of people say that their husband, they've been married for 5 years and then they have that kid and the husband completely changes on them. And that's what I'm saying. Like the way that it changed, like, let's be honest with each other, with women and men about what it means to procreate in this world. Because it isn't the rom-coms that they shove down. It's not the Disney fairy tales. Men have been trying to tame the inner Lilith in a woman since Adam. They need to stop. The fight is old. Evolve already. Absolutely. Yeah, I know Adam never existed, Vegan Butterfly. I do understand that. I'm glad I caught this live. Thank you, Devious. And I agree. Adam never existed. But when I read that, I just thought of it more of like the sense of like energy exchange, like the energy of Lilith. I mean, I'm an agnostic atheist, right? So I'm not willing to believe that there's nothing, but I also have no proof that anything that I do know is real, including whether you go to Lord Ganesh, to Kali, to the Orishas, to Lilith, to Adam, to all that shit. So I understand what you mean, Vegan Butterfly, but I didn't take her comment as that. But I know what you mean in that sense of like Adam never being existing. I do think there's those prototypes. I know that I did go into the spiritual realm a little bit, and I do believe in those energies, right? There's this energy that comes with goddess energy, and I think that the power of belief is really what we contend with, because if you believe anything, it manifests, right? Because I do believe in the law of attraction. I do believe in energy. I do believe a lot of things. But again, a lot of these things can be backed by science where we don't know anything else. Yeah, totally. It's an archetype. Yeah, exactly. And I do get that you get that, Lilith. Like, I do get that you get that. When you call yourself Lilith, it's not because you actually think that, like you said, it's that archetypal perspective. You're talking about who your spirit is. The way you show up as a woman in this world would be a Lilith as opposed to an Eve. Dr. Mira Rose, in my opinion, a woman should have a child only if she really wants to be a mother, because males are too fickle and they often change up after you give birth. Yeah, And that's important too. And even when I made that decision, I knew that the relationship might not work out when I had a child, but I was 28, I was still Christian, and I was like, I need to do this. You know, I thought I was told that I should have children, and I believed that was a part of it. And I was like, well, what if I never have another chance? I'm 28. You know, I let all that stuff fuel me. This was before I shortly became awakened after my daughter, about 2.5 years in to being into motherhood. I discovered a lot, and I was awakened, and I started doing research, and I started decolonizing my mind. Was first, and then it became about, you know, finding something or something spiritual, you know, to replace Christianity. Tried, you know, even, I believe in Christ. I even went to the Christ consciousness, you know, and it's an evolution, and everybody's at a different stage, and I respect those stages as long as everybody respects. It does it respectfully. You come in here disrespecting me, I'm just gonna be mean. But right, but yeah. So we're gonna continue this conversation. I'm gonna say tomorrow, because I do have a live that's gonna be going down at 2:30. I'm gonna be talking about the story of Job. We're deconstructing Christianity. So I'll see you guys at 2:30, okay, p.m. Eastern time. I don't know where you are in the world, but 2:30 Eastern time, I will be live again. We're going to do the discussion of the Bible story, Job. And I'll come back to this. We'll do a part 2. I can probably do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I like getting up in the morning, but I know it's like a work day for everybody. So maybe I'll do it in the evening. I'll let you guys know. I'll post it on the community board, and I will schedule the live so that it will be up and running. But I'll probably do it tomorrow. We'll continue this from here, part 2. I think it's perfect because someone just left. There's so many other people left to speak. So, and we only got through 35 minutes of it. I mean, which to me is good, because that means we're talking and we're conversing, and that's what I love. So I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and see if maybe there's a tier for you. I'm going to definitely get you guys more information about the book club. I love y'all. We'll talk soon. Thank you again so much for being here. My mouse is not working as I'm trying to make my exit. Hold on now.
Yes. I fall in love with myself, and I want someone to share it with me. I want someone to share me with me.